My name is Anastasia Hammond. I'm a lawyer by profession and I work with Spring Legal Consultancy. A hermaphrodite is a person with both genitals, that is the penis and the vagina at the same time. First and foremost, let me start by defining what a marriage is. There are several definitions when it comes to marriage, but I would like to quote as it was indicated in an English case called Hide and Hide, that a marriage is a voluntary union between a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others, which means that marriage is heterosexual. It is supposed to be between the opposite sex. So it's supposed to be between a man and a woman. And we all know that there are certain basic characteristics that defines who a man is or who a woman is. That is why even when the woman is pregnant and wants to know the sex of the baby, the doctors are able to determine that based on the genital of the baby. So that if the baby has penis, then it is assumed that it is a boy. If the baby has a vagina, it is assumed that it is a girl. So for marriage, it has to be between two opposite sex, with the man having the penis and the woman having the vagina. Now, for the purpose of this discussion, let me explain what voidable marriage is. So for voidable marriage, we are saying that the marriage is valid until a court of competent jurisdiction declares that the marriage is a nullity. And with that, the party claiming that the marriage is a nullity must initiate proceeding in court, known as the nullity proceeding. So you petition the court with your grounds that based on one or two things, you think that the marriage is a nullity and you want the court to pronounce it as such. One of those grounds is when the marriage has not been consummated. Now, what is consummation? Consummation is when there is an intercourse, and the intercourse must achieve complete penetration in the normal sense. In the normal sense means that there should be penetration through the vagina and not any other place. So with this particular story, the couple, they have not slept together ever since they celebrated the marriage. And the consummation I'm talking about, it should happen after the marriage ceremony. So that if the couple whilst dating or courting had any form of intercourse, it will not amount to the consummation we are talking about here. This should be done after the marriage ceremony. So with this particular instance, the couple, they have not slept together. So it is assumed that their marriage is voidable. If the man so thinks that the lady has been dishonest and as a result does not want the marriage again, what he can do is to initiate what we call nullity proceedings in court, stating the basis for wanting to nullify their marriage. And for this particular story, the man's ground will be that the marriage has not been consummated, as stated in Section 13 of the Matrimonial Causes Act. So that if there's sufficient proof that indeed the marriage has not been consummated, then the court can declare the marriage as a nullity. But until then, until he initiates the nullity proceedings, the marriage, as I said earlier on, is considered valid and he cannot remarry, because that would be a form of a bigamy, which is punishable by law. It's a criminal offense in the criminal jurisdiction in the Act 29. So if the man really wants to divorce, I mean, this is not even a divorce, because in the first place, the marriage is not valid. It's not valid, it's voidable. But it can be corrected. If he really wants to go ahead with the marriage, then what they can do is to seek medical advice. And then if it's corrected, then they can consummate the marriage.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Derek Martin. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. I'm also a fellow in reproductive endocrinology and infertility, where we attend to people with, especially women with endocrine problems regarding their hormones, their development, as well as fertility-related problems. So today, the issue we have at stake has to do with somebody with claim to be a hermaphrodite. Generally, we tend not to use that term any longer. A lot of us tend to describe it as disorders of sexual development or disorders of sexual differentiation. And there are several possibilities, there are several types that are available. And we see, even though it's not quite often, every now and then you pick up, especially babies that are freshly born. And the first thing that gives it away is when they have ambiguous genitalia. So you look down at the genitalia and you cannot tell whether what you see is a male genitalia or a female genitalia. Unfortunately, in our sub-region, when people pick it up, instead of seeking help early so that they can properly assign gender or assign the proper sex to the person, they tend to hide and keep it until very late on in life. Then there is confusion as to whether the person is a boy or a girl. The possibilities that are available, you can actually have one who is genetically a girl or a female. However, the development was such that it ended up developing things that look a phallus that looks like a penis or scrotum in addition to a vagina or some other internal female organs. Then we also have one who is genetically a male. However, he failed to develop male features, and so even though the person is genetically male, there was failure to properly virilize the person. So it comes up and you may see features that looks like a female. Of course, there is also the true hermaphrodite where you can actually have both male organ, female organ, or you may actually have testes and ovaries at the same time. So genetically, once you assess, you can tell there are male features and there are female features right down to the genes, and that actually is one option. That is actually the true hermaphrodite. So for this your case that has come in, it's difficult to tell exactly which one, but from the analysis and the description we are having, it has both female-like genitalia and male-like genitalia. So it falls in this class of disorders of sexual differentiation. And so it's important to check out certain things to be able to properly assign gender as to whether indeed it's a male or a female. But having read the person as a female for, I'm sure, over 20 years, there really may be no point trying to change the person to a male. It's important to work out and see how best you can actually preserve sexual function. And the first thing I will say here, which you need to know, is for all of us, the most important sexual organ to start with is the brain, is the mind. It starts from the brain. So we can actually simulate something. If it is, let's say you want to assign a female gender, for instance, we can actually take out the phallus and then be able to create, with the help of the urogynecologist, be able to create some semblance of a vagina. And they may actually be able to have sexual intercourse, especially if it is not extreme. Of course, you may not be able to penetrate as long as you will for the natural woman, but there is the possibility of creating something to be able to allow some sexual intercourse.